My name's Alina. I'm 32 years old, and I want to share my story with you. It's one of those stories that looks perfect from the outside, but feels completely empty on the inside. If you saw me, you'd think I have everything. There's no shortage in my life. I have a big house, fancy cars, beautiful clothes, and a life that people often say looks like a dream. People see me, smile, and say, "You're so lucky. I wish my life was like yours." I smile back every time, but that smile never really reaches my heart. It's just a habit now. Because the truth is, I'm not happy. I have everything, but there's this strange emptiness inside me that I don't fully understand myself. It's growing slowly, like a space nothing can fill. My husband, Adrian, is very successful. People respect him a lot and praise his achievements. He's worked hard to get where he is, and he always makes sure I have everything I want. Every morning he asks what I need, and when he comes home in the evening, he always brings something. Sometimes an expensive gift, sometimes a beautiful dress, or a surprise trip. He's never let me feel like I'm missing anything. But there's one thing that's always been missing. He's never asked how I actually feel. Our house is beautiful and well decorated, but amidst all that beauty, there's a strange silence that slowly breaks a person inside. Sometimes I get startled by the sound of my own footsteps inside the house, like I'm a guest in my own home, and my presence is just for show. One evening, I was standing by my bedroom window. It was lightly raining outside. People were running in the street, some laughing, some happily getting wet with others. I watched them carefully, and suddenly a strange question popped into my mind. Are those people happier than me? I have everything, so why am I so lonely? I have a relationship, so why is there no connection? I have a home, so why don't I feel like I belong? These questions kept spinning in my head. That night, I couldn't sleep for a long time. I kept staring at the ceiling, lost in my own thoughts. The next morning, everything looked normal again, like nothing had happened. But something inside me had changed. I started seeing everything differently. I felt distant from my own life, like I wasn't part of my own story, but just a spectator. I tried asking myself many times what I really wanted, but every time, the answer was empty. I couldn't figure out what I'd lost, but I knew something important was missing inside me. One day, I mustered the courage to ask Adrian, "Do you love me?" He chuckled softly and said, "What kind of question is that? I give you everything." His answer left me even quieter because for him, love meant giving everything. But for me, love meant something else. It meant understanding, feeling, being there together. I couldn't say that then, so I just stayed silent and slowly withdrew into myself. Days passed by. Everything stayed the same on the surface, but inside, I felt emptier each day. I was looking at my life from a distance, like I wasn't really in it. I met people, smiled, talked, but inside, I was somewhere else. One day, standing in front of the mirror, I looked closely at myself and asked a simple question. Are you really happy? At that moment, I had no answer. For the first time, I saw a truth in my own eyes that I had been ignoring for so long. That day, I started going through my old things. I found a box with my old diary inside. I opened it and began reading. It was full of my dreams, the things I wanted to do, the life I wanted to live. With every page, I realized how far I had drifted from who I used to be. I wasn't the person I once was. I had given up my dreams for someone else's happiness, and all I got back was emptiness. I cried a lot that day, but those weren't tears of just sadness. They were tears of accepting a hard truth. In that moment, I decided I would find myself again, no matter how long it took or how hard it got. After that, I started making small changes in my life. The beginning was tough because I'd been living the same way for years, but I was determined not to lose myself anymore. I started painting again, something I had given up long ago. At first, my hands trembled, like I was learning something new, but gradually, I reconnected with the colors. I began going out alone, without any reason, just to spend time with myself. I started talking to myself, trying to understand my thoughts. It was all new and sometimes felt weird, but with each day, I felt a little change inside. A small peace, a quiet happiness that came without any reason. I started seeing things differently. What used to just feel nice now felt meaningful. I understood that happiness isn't in things, but in how we feel about ourselves. Slowly, I was coming closer to myself, and that feeling was the most special thing. After a while, I realized that spending time alone wasn't enough. I needed to bring my truth out, especially to the person I was living with. One evening, when Adrian came home, I asked him to sit down. My voice was a bit shaky, but this time I was determined not to stay silent. He looked at me and asked what was wrong. I stayed quiet for a few seconds, then slowly said, "I'm not happy." He was silent for a moment, like he didn't know how to respond. Then he looked at me carefully, and for the first time, I saw a question in his eyes. He asked, "Why?" I took a deep breath and said, "Because I have everything, but I don't feel myself. It feels like I'm just playing a role." He listened carefully this time without interrupting. I told him I didn't need things. I needed him, his time, his presence, his attention. After hearing this, he quietly said, "I didn't know you felt this way." There was regret in his voice, and maybe for the first time, I saw him helpless. At that moment, I realized sometimes people aren't wrong, just unaware. And maybe our silence creates the biggest distance. Things didn't change overnight after that conversation, but something definitely shifted. The silence between us didn't feel as heavy anymore. We started talking slowly, without pretending or fear. I shared all my feelings, and for the first time, he really listened. Sometimes it took us a while to understand each other because we weren't used to these kinds of talks, but we tried. And that was the most important thing. Now we'd sit together without any reason, just to be with each other. Those little moments became very meaningful to me. I realized real connection happens in moments without pretense, where there's only truth. Gradually, the distance between us lessened. I didn't feel as alone as before, and that change showed in me too. When I smiled now, the smile was real. I finally understood that happiness doesn't come from outside. It comes from within when we live honestly with ourselves and our relationships. Over time, our lives found stability, not just on the surface, but inside too. Every day, I connected a little more with myself. I started understanding my likes and dislikes again. I began doing things that truly made me happy, no matter how small. Sitting quietly in the morning, smiling without any reason, or just spending time with my own thoughts. These things started meaning a lot to me. Adrian changed too. He stopped just focusing on giving and started trying to understand. He began asking how I was feeling, and that question became more precious than any gift. We learned that a relationship isn't just about things. It needs time, attention, and truth. Our home looked the same as before, but the feeling had changed. The silence was gone. Now there was life in it. I didn't feel like a stranger in my own house anymore. It really felt like mine. Today, when I look at my life, I realize having everything doesn't mean you're happy. I used to think that if I had everything, I'd automatically be happy. But now I know happiness isn't in things. It's in the feeling we create inside ourselves. I learned that if you drift away from yourself, nothing in the world can fill you up. But if you come close to yourself, even small things can make you happy. Now I live my life the way I feel it, not according to anyone else's expectations. I listen to my heart. Adrian and I have a real relationship now. We try to understand each other. We're not perfect, but we're honest. And that's what matters most. When people now tell me I'm lucky, I smile. And this time, my smile is real. Because I'm truly happy. And I know this happiness didn't come from outside. I created it inside myself. If you're hearing this story and feel like you're missing something, despite having everything, stop and ask yourself, are you really happy? And if the answer is no, don't be afraid. It just means you need to find yourself, because real happiness comes when you're true to yourself.